up in like the Bible Belt circle, they say to fear the Lord. And it sounds really bad. It's like why would I fear? I thought he was supposed to love me,
Mm.
but I'm supposed to fear him. The same is true with game dev. You should fear game dev. You should fear entrepreneurship. You should look at it with reverence. And if you're in a position where you're not looking at it with reverence, and by reverence, what do I mean? I mean, this thing can kill you, or what's a better way of putting it? If you screw up, you're out of money and you have to start over. And you've just lost a lot of credibility online, especially if you have followers or you have a Kickstarter campaign, or even credibility with your family. So for me, the way that it's a weird balance though, because you definitely don't want to become paranoid and anxious all the time.
Right, exactly.
But you really need to be in a position where the stakes are high. So if you're comfortable and it's like, oh, I have all this money and I have all this funding, and it doesn't really matter if my game is successful, like that's cool, but it might lead you to make some crazy decisions. And I'll admit, right now I'm in a financial position where I'm pretty comfortable because things have gone really, really well with Neversong, my previous game. They've also gone really well with my online course. And so I'm sitting here in a financially comfortable place. So what I have to do for myself is I have to give myself goals that are almost mandated by God himself. Like that's the way I think of it.
Mm.
So I go, okay, the goal for the end of 2021 is X, and I have to hit that goal. And then it puts the pressure and the fire back under my butt to do a good job. Feature creep is a big problem, where you
Yep.
where you're constantly just like, oh man, what if I did this and what if I did that and what if I did that? So I say a tangible goal is what's really going to help that. Tangible goals for me include we're going to launch March of 2022. The game is going to make $500,000 minimum within the first 4 months. And these are the types of guns. These are the enemies. We're not going to go beyond that. This is what the game is. This is what a similar game is. So for me, I'm comparing my games to like, let's say a 1/10 of what Half-Life 1 was, and maybe Dusk. I love Dusk, the game Dusk. So I look at certain games and I go, this is my reference point. And essentially I make an oath to myself that I'm not going to go beyond that. Because when I do go beyond that scope, all of a sudden the game turns into a 5-year project. Well, if you're paying yourself a salary of $50,000 a year, you just spent 250 grand on your game. And you're like, wait, is it going to make that back? I have no idea. And so we talked about this earlier in the podcast. You really should be thinking about the money side of things. I was talking to an entrepreneur friend of mine the other day where it's like, there's a weird piece. Strangely enough, there is a weird piece and stability you receive when you become an accountant for a little bit or a bookkeeper, and you go, okay, I'm going to spend some time refocusing on the numbers and how much money I'm putting into this. And again, money is time. Time is money, right? So I always tell my students to say, what's your hourly rate? Okay. I'll figure out how much it's costing you to make this game based on that hourly rate.
Yep.
Then you go, okay, do I really want to make a hook shot gun? Like, do I really
Yeah.
want to do that? Or do I want to just stick with what I've got?
Yeah. It's
And I hope I'm answering your question. I'm not sure.
no, you definitely are. And plus what you just said right there, it's so funny. Like I'll ask that on occasion with some clients and stuff. It's like, so what's your in-kind costs? In-kind costs being, what is your hourly rate that you're putting into this? And if you can't give that, then that means you can't give your overall estimation of what are your costs, how are you going to recoup those costs and things like that. Very straightforward. But yeah, I mean, just overall everything else that you said to like, if you're really getting excited about stuff, a good way to counter that is set goals. And those goals, and by default in a way, should set limitations too. And as you're moving forward, as it sounds like you've already been doing, is like, okay, here I am. And this is where, feature creep can come or scope creep can come up is, okay, is this going to meet my goal? And if anything doesn't come up as like a absolute yes, then it's a no. because
Yeah,
otherwise you're not going to keep those tabs on yourself. You're not going to set those limitations and everything else. So I think
I
you said it
agree.
perfectly. Setting those goals are really important. And then in some cases, probably even future plan. We had an episode in the past about that, but future plan a little bit too, because that's, even though it might be further down, you're still setting goals. You're still setting those limitations so you can reach those areas that you need to.
Exactly. And there is some kind of chemical rush or something when you actually follow through on goals.
Oh yeah.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum is there is a degradation of the soul. I can't think of a better way to put it. That happens when you constantly quit things.
Yeah.
So I would just encourage your listeners to finish just let your yeses be yeses and your nos be nos to
Yep.
yourself. So if you maybe promise yourself right now, today I'm going to eat 30 slices of pizza. And just do it and see how you feel. You're probably going to feel really sick, but but your soul, something deep down in you is going to say, I did what I said I was going to do.
Yep.
You know? My personality is, I don't know whether it's my dad's fault because he's a very like do what you say you're gonna do, and I love that about my dad.
Yeah.
I rarely quit things, and most of the time it was probably worthy of quitting, but it's kind of like investing in the stock market. You don't jump in the stock market for a year. You should jump in the stock market for 30 years.
Yeah.
And the same is true for not quitting. Every time you quit, you're pulling money out of the stock market when you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Just even if it's a dumb investment, put your time into that investment, and it will pay off in the long run because what you're creating is a disciplined personality, and that is a millionaire personality, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I couldn't have had you close a better myself with that ending statement there. So rightfully so. So stay true to yourself. You put the time and energy into it, stay true as much within the means as possible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know we're running up on time here, but before we do, Thomas, first of all, it was great, but what is a good way for people who've listened today that would love to reach out to you, learn more? I know you have, there's a lot of games you have your YouTube channel, you have your courses, which are like super helpful. What are ways people can get in touch with you or find out more information about those things?
Well, if they Google Thomas Brush YouTube, they can follow me on YouTube and just subscribe, hit the notification bell. The reason that I would suggest they do that is because I live stream every day for 4 hours, and I try and talk to my audience while I do it. And so people get to watch me make a game, but they also get to talk to me. And I also do Q&A sessions where I, ramble like I've been doing now. And we do that daily. But if you guys are interested in playing my games, go to atmosgames.com, ATMOS games.com. And if you're interested in learning how I made those games, and not only that, but how I went full-time, secured 6 figures from publishers, and also 6 figures from crowdfunding, and I did that multiple times. If you're interested in learning my secrets, go to fulltimegamedev.com.
All right, awesome. So everyone, at the very least, please check out Thomas's channel. It's very informative. All the content, up to date, is just so helpful. So again, go out there, check it out, and obviously check out the other things too. You'd be pleasantly surprised if you're not already. So, Thomas, can't thank you enough. Really appreciate you being on the show today.
Yeah, no problem, Andrew. It was really fun.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of Indie Game Movement. I'm Andrew Pappas, your host, and the show's producer is Mustafa Price. If you enjoy and value the show's content, you can support us even more by going to Patreon and visiting www.patreon.com/IGM podcast and select the tier that best suits your needs. Show notes for this episode can be found by visiting rengenmarketing.com, the number episode of the show. Rengen Marketing is a consulting marketing company that helps indie devs with their marketing efforts. Whether you need guidance with your game's marketing strategy or could use a free marketing plan template, then please visit www.rengenmarketing.com and take action. A special thanks to Dakota Saw for Season 2's opening theme and Melissa Gellis for the new logo design. And as always, Thanks for being such great listeners, and we'll see you next time on Indie Game Movement.